Media Network proudly presents a weekly exploration of various spiritual practices with renowned spiritual authors, coaches, teachers, and Dr. Tracy Brown, RScP.
And now, here's Tracy.
Hey everybody, Tracy Brown here with Poetry, Prayer, and Practice, a weekly exploration of poetry and how it fuels us or inspires our spiritual practice. Prayer, how prayer can be used as a method of spiritual practice and practice. Like, what are other spiritual practices that can be used and that we do use in order to create lives we love and a world that is a representation of heaven on earth? And my name is Tracy Brown, and I am delighted to dive into those topics with you. And I hope that you are going to really dig into and enjoy today's content, today's focus. The focus today is really a question for you. When you think about your spiritual practice and how you show up in the world, and you think about what you focus on, my question for you is, are you using manifestation? Are you in the process of manifesting what you want to experience and what you choose? Or are you simply using magical thinking? Are you manifesting, or are you using magical thinking? And I'm just curious of what your answer is, even before I get into the content. But if you're truly honest with yourself, do you believe in manifesting? Are you doing the things that you know support manifesting your best life? Or are you just using magical thinking? So, of course, if you know me at all, or if you've watched the show at all, you know that I'm pretty big on definitions and making sure that at least we start on kind of the same page. So I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about the difference between manifesting and magical thinking. But I want you already considering, for you, how can you tell the difference for yourself? Now, in my frame of thinking, there are two foundational beliefs that are important when you are manifesting or using spiritual practice in order to manifest what you want to experience in your life. So there are these two keys that make a huge difference and will keep you in the energy of manifesting what you want. The number one key is belief. What do you actually believe? What do you believe you deserve? What do you believe you can have? What do you believe is possible? What do you believe in the infinite nature of the universe is available to you? What do you really believe? And when you're not sure about what you believe, you can just ask yourself, well, what's my dominant thought about that? I am desiring to manifest excellent health. And do I really believe that's possible? What's my dominant thought? If my dominant thought is I'm unhealthy, then I'm not really believing that excellent health is available to me or is something that I can actually experience. If my dominant thought or dominant thoughts tend to be a discounting of what I say I believe, or they're the opposite of what I say I believe, then actually I am believing in something different than what I am speaking or saying that I believe. So, the number one foundational key to manifesting is believing. Now, it may be simply believing in the possibility, but still it's believing in the direction of what it is you are attempting to manifest. And this is really, really critical because what's going on right when we are manifesting is that we are really focused on mentally, emotionally, right? We are subconscious, everything is driving toward that which we are committed to manifesting. And our subconscious and our emotions are driving a lot more than just what we may write in our journal one time or speak out loud when somebody like Tracy says, well, what do you believe in? Or what do you want to manifest? And you have this super duper, really great, positive answer. But the number one key is, do you really believe it? And so if you do believe it, then you are laying a foundation that allows that to begin to be real, at least at the subconscious level. And so this question, are you manifesting or are you just using magical thinking? I love it. Alyssa says that she is manifesting. Yes. Yes. And that's the energetic, manifesting with an exclamation mark. That's the energetic that we have to feel if we really are moving in that direction. There's not a lot of room for doubt. There's not a lot of room for fear. There's not a lot of room for questioning. Our energy must go into believing and then aligning our behaviors with that belief. And so that becomes the number two foundation for manifesting, what you actually do. So you want to align your belief with your behaviors. What do you constantly or consistently practice? Are you living your life in alignment with what you say you believe? Those two things, belief and practice, or belief and behavior, those two things are the key foundations to actually manifesting. So if you are doing those things, then you might be manifesting more than just using magical thinking. What we know is true is that the universe is unlimited, the infinite intelligence of the universe, right? All of the ways that we describe what's happening spiritually that shows up physically in our human experience, well, the universe is unlimited. But what it keeps feeding you are situations and people and relationships that validate what you deeply believe. And the universe is constantly feeding you or reflecting how you consistently live. So we all have the ability to change what we believe, and we have the ability to change how we live. And when we do, the universe responds to the new direction. This is spiritual law. This is not, when I'm saying this is spiritual law, and on the New Thought Media Network, when we are talking about spiritual law, we know that people honor or study many different religions and religious paths. But if you look underneath, like underneath kind of the surface level, and you see what the mystics of each religion teach, or what is underneath the daily practices, rituals, or guidelines, there is a spiritual law or a spiritual pattern that is showing up. And it is simply maybe described a little differently in different religious paths, but there is this common element. So when I say spiritual law, that's what I'm referring to. It's the universal common thread that you will find beneath or within all of the major religious paths. So I've mentioned, if we're talking about manifesting and understanding what that requires of us, it is the belief and it is behaviors that are consistent with what we say we want and or believe. And there is a third factor. If you are doing both of those, the third factor is time. Remember that time is a human construct, not a spiritual one. So there's neither time nor space in the invisible universe, right? And there's no time and space that spirit is bound by. But we live in a human and physical experience. And so that third element of time becomes important as a factor. So often we'll see or experience something and it seems instantaneous. The reality about instantaneous is that it usually is a reflection of many years of work, of laying a foundation. Someone has been studying and practicing spiritual principles or spiritual practices diligently for years, maybe even decades. And therefore, when they claim what they want or speak their word or move into action, it just seems to manifest immediately or really quickly. There's a clarity about what they want, what they deserve, what they're worthy of, and when they get very clear about that, all the pieces fall into place. So that sometimes happens with time. Sometimes what looks like an instantaneous or quick demonstration actually is the result of the level of focus and attention and emotion that is a part of the claim or the prayer or the decision has been made, and it shows up really quickly. Manifestation is the result. It's the result of a combination of faith and focus and feeling. Manifestation is the result of the combination of faith plus focus plus feeling. So there are plenty of examples where, I don't know, in a life-threatening emergency or an emotionally charged situation, what looks like a miracle happens fast or happens immediately, right? Someone who is not a professional bodybuilder or weightlifter lifts a car because there's a child under it, right? Faith plus feeling plus focus. And they didn't have a lot of time to like think about it. They didn't think of all the things like that the brain would normally think of, like that car weighs 3,000 pounds. You can't lift it, right? You move into action with such clarity, such focus, and such feeling or emotion that things happen that would not normally be considered possible. But it doesn't have to be something that exceptional. It can be something that, to the human brain seems smaller, but the faith is there, the focus is there, the feeling is there, and spiritual law is responding to the great intensity of one or all three of those elements. When something does not manifest, and you are like, but wait, I think I'm in alignment. I do believe that this should happen for me, and I do really want it. And I I think I think I've been doing all the right things. Well, typically, when it's not manifesting, one of the causes is that either I'm being inconsistent in my belief. I'm mostly believing it, but I'm also spending a lot of time either over analyzing it or looking at all the barriers and feeling fear and doubt. Or I am just simply being inconsistent. I'm still going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And so when I do that, I am actually increasing the time it will take for it to manifest because my clarity is not there. I'm being inconsistent, or I am entertaining all of the things that I also believe are in between me and that which I'm trying to manifest. And then finally, I do want to add this because it is true and it does happen more often than we'd like to admit. So, belief, it's there. Behavior or practice, it's there. And you understand the element of time, but it seems like, wait a minute, there's been too much time. I don't understand why it's taking so much time because it's pretty simple. So there is the factor of what often seems like a long delay may not have anything to do with the individual. You may not be doing anything wrong. You may be very seasoned spiritually. You may be very grounded spiritually. But in that time factor, all the pieces that need to fall into place are not available, or they are not happening. And sometimes that is the nature of life itself. Sometimes that is the effect of other people have to do things in order for all the pieces to come together. It also can sometimes be the effect of you individually are doing all the things that are for you to do, but in the collective intelligence of the culture or the neighborhood or the school or the workplace, right? There is a collective belief in something different. So I do want to remind you that while it is critical for each one of us to do everything that we can do to manage and monitor our beliefs, to manage and monitor our behaviors, and to be consistent over whatever length of time it takes, we are not 100% in control of the ultimate manifestation, because there are other factors that are outside of our control based on the beliefs and the actions and the choices of the people we live with or work with or interact with in the world. And so that may delay, but one of my favorite phrases is delay is not denial. Delay is not denial. And my job is to, again, come back to manage my own beliefs and my own behavior, because I know it's going to happen. I know this is going to be delivered to me, or my life is going to change. And so when I remember that delay is not denial, it allows me to keep my focus and not fall over across the line into doubt or fear or resignation or skepticism. So I'm not going to fall into the pattern of complaining that it hasn't happened yet. I may be curious about why it hasn't happened and use that curiosity as a way to reinforce, but this is what I know is going to happen, or this is the direction I am going in my life. No barrier is big enough to block this blessing from happening. So if all of that is what manifestation is about, and what manifestation looks like, and what manifestation requires, then what is magical thinking? Oh my goodness. Magical thinking. I love talking about magical thinking so much, because probably at least half the people I've interacted with, like in classes or in workshops or on webinars, when they think they are doing or moving toward manifesting, they actually are using magical thinking. And magical thinking is not going to get you where you want to go. So, what is magical thinking? Well, magical thinking, magical thinking is dreaming, wishing, hoping, imagining. Magical thinking is imagining something without truly believing it can happen. Magical thinking is wishing for something different, but not being willing to change your behavior in ways that supports what you say you want. So there, an infinite number of examples. 10 just went through my mind. One of the examples that comes up so often is someone is complaining about the job they have. Now, they're grateful they have a job because they're getting a paycheck. They're complaining about the job they have. And, maybe it doesn't use what they actually have a degree in, or maybe it is a job where they accepted the job because they had been unemployed for 9 months and they needed the money and they took the job, and they want a different job. And they say they want a different job and they deserve a different job. But all they do is complain about the job they're in, and they don't also take any action. They're not networking with people who are in the profession they want to be in, so that they build a network and build relationships with someone who might be able to either sponsor them or at least alert them that the right kind of job or the job that they want is available in another company or another organization. They complain about what they're doing, which they're putting a lot of their emotional energy into what they don't want, which is the job they have. And they ultimately, maybe 3 or 4 months later, they get fired or laid off, right? They haven't been in the job, but less than a year or a little over a year, and they've been half doing the job because they don't like it. They complain about the job. They constantly say, I really want another job. I don't want to work here anymore. Those kind of things. Well, they're putting their feelings on what they don't want. The universe says, oh, you really don't want this job? You don't like this job? Okay, well, we'll move this job out of your life. When they could have been putting energy into attracting and networking and, going, looking and applying for jobs that use their skills and that would intellectually and emotionally feed them, but they are not doing any of that. And this has happened so many times where, I'm in conversation with someone and they've come to me for coaching because they're really frustrated and they're really stressed and, they really want a new job. And they will ask me to pray for them or with them. And they will write some affirmations about, the job that's perfect for me is, and they will do on the surface the work, but their dominant thoughts and their dominant feelings are all wrapped around the job that they're complaining about that they don't want anymore, and they're not doing the things or affirming really what it is they want. So magical thinking is thinking someone or something outside of ourselves is going to fix our own lives. Magical thinking is thinking someone or something outside of ourselves will simply reward us by giving us something nice. Like a teacher might give a young child a gold star for completing that week's reading assignments, or, you get a participation trophy because you just showed up, but you didn't really do anything. But someone outside of me or something outside of me is going to just make it happen. And I don't have to do anything but show up, stand here and wait for it. It doesn't work like that. Manifestation is not a reward for good behavior. Manifestation is a naturally occurring process that reflects spiritual laws in action in our lives. It's definable, it's predictable, it's demonstrated day after day after day. Think about what is going on in your life right now and how it reflects what you have been thinking about and what you have been doing. It reflects your belief in whether your life can be good and your behavior also, right? If your belief and your behavior are coming together in alignment with creating the kind of life that you want, your life shows it. If your beliefs and your behavior are coming together and giving you things you don't want, overall, it's reflecting your belief and your behavior and how you have combined them over time. I'm pausing because someone I know has the question, are you saying that I cause everything is happening in my life, that I'm the cause of it. I'm not saying that. I'm not. I'm a Black person. There is racism in the world. If someone drives by me and when I'm walking in my neighborhood and rolls their window down and yells the N-word, I didn't cause that. I didn't cause racism to exist and for people to think that because of the color of my skin, I am less than them or they are better than me. So I didn't cause it and I can't eliminate it, but I do have control over how I respond to it and how I process it. And because I am consistently creating a life where I interact with, like I believe I live in a world that ultimately is friendly or welcoming. I believe in a world where I am constantly or consistently surrounded by and engaged with people who see me for who I am and who accept me for who I am. Because I believe that and I put myself in those kinds of situations, then the times that I personally experience blatant racism is minimized, but I can't make it not ever happen because the people who are in the world who I come into contact with have their belief systems as well. But I can influence that and I am in control of how I respond to it, how I think about it. I could choose to think about it differently and believe, oh my goodness, everywhere I go, people are going to judge me based on the color of my skin. Everywhere I go, I better be careful and keep my head down so I don't offend anybody who's white. I could believe that and I could live my life that way. And I know I would experience more in my face experiences. So please don't misunderstand me. When I'm talking about manifesting, I know that sometimes things happen that you did not choose. They are part of the overall journey. And our job is to stay grounded in and focused on the world we want to live in, the experiences in the world we want to have that we know are in alignment with spiritual law. So, okay, let's look at some of the building blocks because I really want you to focus on manifestation. I really want you to build your strength. I really want you to be able to live your life in a way where this just becomes your natural way of being. So here's some questions for you. When you're working on maximizing manifestation in your life, ask yourself, what's my dominant thought? So it's often, you can ask yourself about that in general, about life. Like, what's my dominant thought? Ernest Holmes wrote about how important it was for us to really train our thoughts so that we can actually answer that question. What's my dominant thought? Sometimes it's easier to say, what's my dominant thought about my health if I'm working on my health? Or what's my dominant thought about prosperity and abundance if I'm working on my financial well-being? Or what's my dominant thought or belief related to relationships if I am looking for or in trying to attract the perfect partner into my life? So what's my dominant thought? What's my level of belief? Or what do I really believe? Another good question is about manifesting in general is, do I believe I can receive this instantaneously? Or do I believe I have to struggle for it? Because if I believe I have to struggle for it, I'm going to have some struggles and some barriers put in front of me on the way to manifesting the outcome. Do I believe in unlimited abundance, or do I believe there's never enough to have everything I want? Really, this is a really important one that many people would struggle with. Like, I'm just supposed to be happy with what I have. I know there's an infinite or unlimited abundance in the universe, but not for me. Not for me. No, not for me. I'm just supposed to have a little bit. And when we believe that, we get that. You can also ask yourself, do you believe people are generally good and kind? Or do you believe most people are selfish and only care about themselves? It will affect whether or not you're able to manifest through the gifts, talents, and offerings from other people. If you believe people are generally selfish and they only care about themselves, it's really hard to believe when someone offers you something, support, money, a gift, an experience, an airplane ticket. If someone offers you something, it's hard to say yes to that good if you believe, oh, wait a minute, why are they offering me this? I wonder what they want. I wonder what they're getting out of it. So those two things really can cause conflict and doubt in your mind. So what do you believe about other people? Are they good and kind? Is that the people you engage with? Do you believe you can create a life for yourself where you are surrounded by people who are good and kind and generous? Or is your core belief that people are selfish and they're only looking out for themselves, and I better be careful? Another thing to question within yourself: do you believe your future is unlimited, magnificent, amazing? Or do you believe your current circumstances define your future? I'm limited by what I have already done. I'm limited by the education I got or didn't get. I'm limited by what my parents or teachers said I could achieve. Or do you believe your future is only limited by your own borders, your own limitations? And then one other question that I love to answer and remind myself of periodically, or I like to check in with myself around this question, and especially if I've been working on manifesting some shift or some change and the delay seems to be longer than I imagined. The last question that I ask myself is this: do I believe God is my partner in co-creating my life? Or do I believe God is my parent or punisher? This is a really good one and a really tough one for some people. But I do ask myself periodically, wait, what do I believe? Do I believe that God or spirit or the universe is my partner in creating my life? Or do I believe that God is my parent, and a parent who is looking to judge or punish me? Do I believe that this thing called God is a punisher by nature, and I am going to get punished if I make a mistake or if I don't do it a certain way? This becomes foundational to manifestation, because being able to imagine something that you have not done before or you have not had before if your belief is that the universe is on your side and the universe has your back, that God is moving mountains out of the way so you can have a really, really good life. If you don't believe that, then you're operating often out of fear, or you just put a limit on yourself saying, oh, I can't have it anyway, or God doesn't want me to have it. And the only thing that is true about spirit is, beside its own nature, it is unlimited, right? There are no limits. It has created everything. But in terms of manifesting, it's going to give you what you overall believe you are worthy of, or that you deserve, or that you can create. Now, you may not agree with me on all parts of that, but in every faith tradition, there is some scripture or some guidance that is similar to ask and ye shall receive. Believe and ye shall receive. Ask with the belief and you will receive this, because the kingdom of God is yours. So whatever you believe, the universe simply says yes. Now I'm watching the time, and we try to do between 45 and 50 minutes. So what I've been doing is really just going back and forth between what is manifestation and giving you the opportunity to think about, are you really practicing what leads to manifesting, or have you been practicing magical thinking, which is just going to keep you in a downward spiral, or at the best, keep you where you are, like doing exactly what you're doing now, or experiencing the same kinds of experiences you are experiencing now. So I want to use the remaining time to share two spiritual practices that you can use in your life that will lead to greater manifestation. Practice one is to look at one thing you really like or love about your life, and then look at or choose one thing that you don't like about your life. So I want you to choose one of each, one thing or experience you really love about your life, and one thing that you don't love or you'd really like to change. And the practice is to ask yourself to really look at those conditions or those situations or circumstances, and to explore how each of those conditions reflect your deep-seated beliefs. Choose something that you really love about your life, something you don't love or you really want to, you're ready to change it. But with both of them, train yourself or practice identifying what is it in your own deep-seated beliefs that has resulted in that amazing, fabulous thing, and in that thing that you don't want to have more of. Because they are both reflecting what you believe and what you do in your behavior habitually over time. They both reflect patterns of thinking and behaving. So the reason that this is an important practice for you to be able to do that with both what you like and you don't like is because it's training you to be able to notice, recognize, and change or shift your own thinking, your own belief system. You will become so much more aware of how your thinking, your patterns of behavior, your patterns of belief are feeding your experience. And a lot of times when we are talking about manifestation, we only want to talk about, oh, I manifested this. It's so great. Oh, look at the partner who's in my life. I manifested this because I did my work. Or look at this great job I have, and I doubled my salary in less than a year because I was doing this and this and this. But we don't as often look at, wow, my car got repossessed 3 times in 1 year. I know I made late payments or I missed a payment, but we don't look at the deep-seated beliefs that are feeding that pattern and why that pattern is repeating. So I hope that makes sense to you. That would be practice number 1 that I would highly, highly recommend. A second practice that will help you develop your skill and your commitment to doing things that will help you manifest is this practice. For a week, if you can. Maybe just start out with 1 day. And then if you do it for 1 day, then do it for 2 days. And then if you do it for 2 days, then go for a week. Okay. So for 1 day, just listen to your self-talk. Really pay attention to the conversations you have with others and how you think about yourself, what you say to yourself about yourself, and what you say to others about who you are, what you do, how you show up in the world. It's really amazing. Your words actually do reveal what you truly believe now. Your words actually point the way toward what you want or what you believe, or what you want to think differently in the future. And we talk so much without consciously choosing the words we use. So for 1 day, really pay attention to your self-talk and the words you use when you are talking to others, especially if it's about something that you already know you want to change. So many of you have had enough exposure to me that you know that I am slightly addicted. If you can be slightly addicted, I don't know. I think you're either addicted or you're not to whatever it is you're addicted to. But I'm going to give myself a little grace here. So I'm slightly addicted to roller skating. And one of the things I have to really watch is complaining. And I will catch myself complaining about this DJ or that DJ. I will catch myself complaining about, oh my goodness, like I wasted my time and gas. I can state it as a fact. Oh, I went skating Saturday night and it was a complete waste of my time, my energy, and my gas. That's not a complaint. That's an observation. It is a statement of fact in this case. But when it becomes a complaint, where for 15 minutes I'm talking about how bad the DJ was and how much gas I used and I needed that money for something else, and I'm going on and on. Oh, I'm just going to manifest more skating sessions that I don't like. So I have a rule that I remember probably 85% of the time. If I find that I'm sitting on the sidelines and all I'm doing is complaining, now there's a second voice that comes into my brain after 20 years of doing this training. If I find myself complaining, I'm sitting there and I'm complaining, I'm not skating, I'm not talking about something good, then it's time for me to go home. It's time for me to go home. It's time for me to change my behavior. It's time for me to stop the pattern of complaining and go home. And while I'm driving home, I'm either talking to my sister on the phone to shift my energy, or I am thinking about something I am creating good in my life, or I am saying affirmations about something I am trying to create in my life, but I am shifting from that complaining so that my belief that skating is a good experience, skating is good for my health, skating is something I enjoy. I do it as also as spiritual meditation, like a moving meditation, and I love skating. That has to be bigger than the complaining when there's a bad night or a DJ I don't like. Now, I'm using this because it's a little bit of a silly example, but I want you to be able to take that example and apply it to something in your life so that you can notice what it is in your self-talk in this second practice, what it is in your self-talk that you, in your self-talk or in your conversation with others, that you are affirming. Are you affirming the good? Are you affirming what you want? Whew, that is today's focus on, are you manifesting or are you using magical thinking? And if you got any idea in this conversation, then I really encourage you to go to New Thought Media Network website and donate. It doesn't come to me, it comes to the network to support all of the programming that is available to you, to remind you to use spiritual practice to create a life that you love. And there's so many programs on the network. If you are new to the network, just go to the website and spend a little time exploring and seeing what shows will help you create the kind of life that you love. And of course, I do hope that every Tuesday at noon Mountain Time, you will join me right here on Poetry, Prayer, and Practice on the New Thought Media Network. Have a great week, everybody.
Thanks for watching. Join us again next week. Or watch on demand at www.ntmedia.org or youtube.com/New Thought Media Network. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring. Learn more at www.ntmedia.org.